Welcome back. You're watching CTV News Channel this morning, and we are following reaction to the Nova Scotia MP, Chris D'Entremont, crossing the floor yesterday to join the Liberals. He resigned from the Conservative caucus. He's now a Liberal MP. Earlier this morning, he says he didn't feel he was aligned with the ideals of what the Conservative leader was talking about.
And understanding the point that we are in Canadian history, where we are, where it's time to actually try to lead a country, to try to make it better, and not try to knock it down, not to continue to be negative. In my case, as a Nova Scotian, we're always trying to find ways to work together to solve the issues that are important to our communities. And
I'll have conversations with anyone within our party, I would say, as well. What you see in this budget very much reflects the input from our caucus on what our priorities should be. I gave one example. I could give very many. I'll also speak to members deputies throughout the House. Mr. D'Entremont and I had discussion in advance of his decision, as was appropriate.
Here we have, as a member of Parliament, and Mr. D'Entremont, who said one thing and is now doing another, who said one thing to his constituents, that he would fight for an affordable budget to provide affordability for Canadians, and that's certainly not what we've seen.
With D'Entremont crossing the floor, the Liberals are now just 2 votes shy of a majority government, bettering the odds of seeing the budget pass once it goes to a vote. Joining me now is Laryssa Waler. She is a Conservative strategist and former Executive Director of Communications for Ontario Premier Doug Ford. Good morning. Great to see you this morning. So we have to start there. The crossing of the floor by MP Chris D'Entremont. He's jumping ship, joining the Liberals. What's your reaction?
I'm speechless. You know why? Because when Conservatives talk about affordability and when they talk about making fiscal decisions that serve the broader interest, there's a cost to borrowing, right? And this MP knows that. He's not blind to what does growing the debt beyond $1.3 trillion do to our country. What this budget does, let's be clear, we are spending more now servicing our debt than we are on Canada Health transfers. So we're spending more paying off debt, paying off reckless spending than we are on hospitals and nurses and doctors. We're spending more on debt than we take in GST. That's what it means. There's real life implications for these decisions.
But do you see his point? He said earlier this morning when asked why he was doing this, I'll ask you about the leadership factor in just a second. He said he was doing it for the members of his riding, those constituents who are in the military, those families that are struggling with affordability. That was part of the reason why he decided to join the Liberals and support this budget.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have to disagree on that one because he knew exactly what he was getting with the Conservative caucus when he decided to run as a Conservative. We've watched what he has said over the last 6 months since the election about Conservative principles. He's doing this because it's politically expedient for his own personal gain. That's why he's doing it.
What's he gaining? He was asked by reporters if he was going to get a cabinet position. He said no. He was just going to join caucus. He didn't say.
Right, yeah. He legally has to say that. They legally can't offer him anything. So let's see how this shakes out over the next 3, 4, 5 weeks. Let's see if he gets anything. And you know, that's not the point. The decision of one MP to make a bad decision across the floor isn't really the point. The point is that this budget increases spending to rates that our country cannot afford. And there are policy pieces in this budget that Conservatives like, right? This would be a budget that we would like to support. They're getting rid of the emissions cap. They are increasing the conditions to want to bring in foreign direct investment. But the spending cannot be ignored. And if we don't have a country that's being run by somebody who understands what it means to spend beyond our means, this is a very basic principle, our country economically is doomed.
But it may not be, Laryssa, just one MP. I'm sure that you have also followed our reporting this morning that there are a number of other Conservatives who are considering following suit and joining the Liberals. What does that say to you about the strength of Pierre Poilievre's leadership?
Yeah, I mean, so being a conservative isn't about one person, and being a conservative isn't about one leader. It's not about one caucus. It's about feeling a certain way about how to govern a country. I feel a certain way about how I want my prime minister to govern the country. I think Pierre Poilievre would be the right guy to govern the country. If people disagree, they disagree, right? It's unfortunate that those people ran as conservatives because we know that when people vote, they vote something like 80 to 90% for the party, and that last piece is for the person. So I think it's a very dishonest way of getting into government. If you want to join the Liberal caucus, I personally think you should run as a Liberal.
Why do you think we haven't heard from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre on this move?
On which move? The leader?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he gave a response to the budget in the House. I don't think he's going to comment on this. There's no benefit to him doing the rounds right now on television talking about this. His focus is on talking about the budget and the implications of the budget on households. There isn't a family in the country that's sitting around the kitchen table worried about what the MP from Nova Scotia is doing. They're worried about how they're going to pay for their grocery bills. They're worried about how they're going to afford tuition. They're worried if they don't have a doctor. And this budget doesn't do anything for them. One MP from Nova Scotia or anybody else isn't helping Canadians across the country. That's what Pierre Poilievre is focused on.
Laryssa, thank you so much for being with us and rolling with the punches this morning as we're following the developments out of Ottawa. And for those of you at home, we're looking at pictures just coming in of the Prime Minister at caucus meeting and a very warm reception there for Chris d'Entremont. Hugs all around. The Nova Scotia MP yesterday announcing that he wanted to support this budget and therefore he was leaving the Conservative caucus to join the Liberals. As CTV's Rachel Aiello was reporting earlier this morning, it's very rare for the doors to be open to the media for this caucus meeting, but clearly the Liberals want to see the warm reception Chris d'Entremont is receiving there among the Liberal caucus this morning in Ottawa.